in the Nilgiris hills, where in the dense forest, the chopper crashed. He was traveling along with his wife and a few other personal staff and some senior defense personnel as well. 14 people were in this chopper, 13 were killed, one is in hospital, and we pray for him that he recovers soon. This particular incident brings to the fore many questions about the safety of choppers, about what happens next, and where does this leave the defense forces, because General Rawat was the first person to take on the role of Chief of Defense Staff, a role that was specifically designed so that there could be better coordination and coordination, as well as cooperation between the three wings of the armed forces. He was focusing on modernization and many other aspects. But this incident now, of course, raises several questions, and those questions we're going to try and answer over the next 20 or 25 minutes. I have with me on the program today two very special guests. With me on the program, Major General Ashwani Siwach, retired, who's a defense and security analyst. Also with me on the program is Dinakar Peri, senior journalist. He's had a very busy day today, and quite understandably so as well. Dinakar, I'd like to start the program with you first. Take us through the series of incidents that took place today, which has shocked the entire nation, because it's never happened, at least in India's history, where we've seen something like this, where such high officials of the defense forces being killed in a chopper crash.
Oh, very rightly said. I mean, it's a very, very tragic incident, what has happened. And as we now know the sequence of events, so in the morning, General Rawat, along with his wife and other personnel, took off from Palam Air Base in Delhi around 8:40. From there, they landed in Sulur Air Base around 11:35. And in about 10-15 minutes, they took off in the helicopter, the ill-fated helicopter, the Mi-17 V5, heading to Wellington, which is about a 20-minute flying time. And around 12:15, it was reported, the helicopter was reported missing. And we know what had unfolded next. And they were about 10 kilometers short of the destination. And as we know, one of the 14, only one has miraculously survived, and he's undergoing treatment right now. And that's where, in terms of the incident, that's where it was. And as that was happening, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh took stock of the situation. He was briefed by the Army Chief, and in fact, he immediately directed the Air Force Chief to head to the crash site in the afternoon. And later, he also he briefed the Prime Minister on the incident. And at 6:30 in the evening, the Cabinet Committee on Security had convened and discussed this issue. After which, in fact, Air Force had formally confirmed the incident to everyone. So, and tomorrow morning, at some time, the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh will make a statement in the both houses of the Parliament on this tragic incident. So that's where things stand as of now.
Absolutely. So that's the latest as far as this particular incident is concerned. I'd like to welcome Major General P.K. Chakraborty, retired defense analyst, on the program as well. Very tragic day today. General, very, very tragic day today. I'll come to you in a bit. Before that, let me go across to General Siwach as well. General, tell us a little more about the ill-fated helicopter. And because this is not a one-off incident, this helicopter is used by VVIPs on a regular basis. I'm told that the Prime Minister uses this helicopter as well from time to time. I mean, maybe not this particular helicopter, but this series of helicopters. Tell us more about the helicopter.
Yeah, Frank, as far as the helicopter is concerned, it is the most modern helicopter available today in the world as far as this Mi series are concerned. Initially, we used to have a Mi-8 taken from Russia. It's a Russian helicopter. Then it was upgraded to Mi-17. And then the latest is this Mi-17 V series. This is V5. So this is the most modern helicopter being used by 60 countries. And now this has been in India being used as a VIVP squadron, both by, in fact, Prime Minister as well as the President, and used by even the chief as well as the CDS. So as far as the helicopter is concerned, it's a twin engine, and it is one of the most modern helicopters. There is just no problem on this helicopter. Now, what can the thing go wrong? That is where the question mark comes. Possibly, 2-3 things can be there, either of them or combination of them. Finally, it will be found out what actually has happened by the Court of Inquiry and Board of Officers, which have been already ordered by the Air Force. Now, one of the reasons can possibly be that, this area is forested and it remains foggy, it remains cloudy. At times, the weather conditions are bad, and possibly that in fact, visibility would have been very poor, and that can be one of the reasons. The one is that weather condition. Second thing is it is wooded as well as it is a mountainous terrain. You remember what happened is there is a air base called Chakraborty. From there, very close to that is the Air Force base called Sulu. And from there it takes off. It takes 15 minutes to reach Wellington, which is next to Uti/Kannur. Wellington is a Defence Service Staff College for all 3 services: Army, Air Force, Navy. The selected officers are, do this course for 1 year. So he was to go there and actually to address them. Now, the point which I said, one can be possibly due to the weather condition. Second problem possibly can be also due to a technical error which may have occurred in this helicopter, because after all, it is a machine. Though the serviceability and all would have been ensured because it is a VVIP squadron, but yet there can be something goes wrong. And third thing can be human error. So this can be possible cause, all either of them or one of them or all 3 of them can be there. So whatever has happened is very unfortunate. But one thing is there, it's a twin engine, it's not a single engine. It is a modern helicopter. With us for last about 10 to 15 years, this Mi-17 V series, and it is being used by almost 60 countries all over the world.
Right.
But it is a question mark. We have to now take care of that. Is this a very, very safe helicopter after this incident, or there is something more to it that possibly it was a pilot error? This time will only tell once the Court of Inquiry is finalized and its basic report comes out in public.
Absolutely. General Chakraborty, let me come across to you now. Let's take this discussion forward and focus on this aspect. What are the implications? What are the ramifications as far as this incident is concerned? Does it raise questions on the use of this particular helicopter as far as our VIPs are concerned? Secondly, what happens to the position of CDS, a position that we have come up with recently and which was tailor-made for someone like a General Bipin Rawat, who was working tirelessly to ensure that we saw modernization of the armed forces, and we also saw better coordination between the 3 armed wings?
Well, firstly, Frank, thank you very much. And also I'd like to thank both Dinakar Peri and General Siwach, who are my dear friends, for educating me so much on this. I too got the news around, I think, 1 o'clock in the afternoon when I received a WhatsApp message on my Center for Land Warfare website at 1 o'clock, and I was playing golf at that time, to be precise. And my caddy was constantly hearing the news. And of course, we could understand what has happened. But I'll just quote now Air Chief Marshal Fali Major, whom I just heard. Well, this, as General Siwach says, is an extremely modern helicopter. It has got all the avionics which you have. And the height of Kannur, where the accident, the helipad is about, I think, somewhere around 5,000 feet. Both General Siwach and I have been to Wellington. We spent some of our good years of our life over there. And these helicopters have been landing off and on. And I think probably this is the first accident to happen in Wellington. Let me put it to you, before this, when I was there, Mi-8s were there. I remember K. Subramaniam also landing. I'm just telling you, K. Subramaniam was then in the Ministry of Defense, and that was the first lecture he landed. Now, you asked something very nice about what are the implications. I'll come on to it. I was very, very fortunate to meet the general on 26th of November. It was almost for 2.5 hours. He had come to the an institution, and I was lucky to ask him 3 questions. Fortunately, you have asked, and he gave me very detailed answers. The first question was on the area of interest, which I was lucky to hear from him, is from the east coast of Africa right up to the Straits of Malacca. I said, well, that's, I think, he was talking about offensive operations. So I said, the first thing we have got to do is to go into the Pacific Ocean. He said, I agree, but I don't have the money to give to the Indian Navy. I'm just quoting him exactly. And then what will happen is that you can't today have somebody at that point and the adversary without a strong navy. The second point I told him, he was a man with a lot of offensive spirit. I must share this with you, you'll agree. I have been seeing him right from the time he was commander of a RR force in Northern Command. I think it was 5 in Sopor, if I recollect exactly. And then he became GOC 19 Div, which was in Baramulla. But since I've been mostly in Northern Command, moving in and out of the valley where I don't know for what reasons, either going to the Jammu side or this side. And then, of course, he commanded a corps in the Northeast, 3 Corps, where he launched what you call a real strike against the Nagas, and which was possibly the first surgical strike. Well, I would put it to you, the second thing I told him is that we should change our concepts in the Indian Army, where every inch of ground is important. Please rewrite all the précis. And I said, I have been advocating it through. He totally agreed with me. And I'm just saying this to you. And the third question which I asked him is about, very clearly, is about the reorganization. Does he feel that it would happen very shortly or so? He says it'll happen at the fastest speed. I would like to now firstly talk about the implications of all these 3 issues. Now, today, you can have anybody going as the Chief of Defense Staff. It won't be a difficult task for the government to appoint. And it's after all, it's appointments in the Army, Navy, Air Force take place as a matter of, shall we say, immediately. General Siwach has been in the military secretary's branch. I don't think it takes much time. It's a question of decision. But the point is, the person who occupies that chair, what is his degree of looking at issues? There are 2 ways of looking at issues. And I think Dinakar Peri very rightly brought out how exactly the whole sequence took place. I was expecting an announcement like Indira Gandhi's case maybe tomorrow morning. Believe me or not, this is what we all said. But I think Dinakar Peri said it very clearly that it was a very, very fast action. That means possibly today we are looking at offensive action. I don't know whoever comes in his place, will he be having the offensive mindset which he had? I have met him a number of times. It's rare. See, my first chief was Field Marshal Manik Shaw. I want to be very frank. I was very lucky because again in Staff College, he settled in Konur. I was very lucky to meet even General Sundarji, who again settled in Konur. I must say Konur is a place where a lot of chiefs have been. And General Rawat, since I was in Center for Land Warfare Studies, I think even Dinakar has been in the same institution, we share the same. General Rawat, you won't believe, as the Chief of Army Staff, I had to ask him, how does he spare the time? Every Saturday, he used to come to us. We had to work on Saturday because he said that is the only day people in Army headquarters can attend discussions. Now, you would say that what you call Saturday is the only day we get free. But General Rawat used to discuss, and we discussed everything from multi-domain operations to firepower to maneuver. Then I gave him the idea. I remember once I attended an infantry discussion, and the discussion was, and General Arjun Ray, who was the corps commander, had said that possibly we should have troops who have the capability of moving with skis and all, something like what the Italian or the other armies, the Swiss armies have. Now, he says that one of the brigades, I will not name it, is supposed to be having that role.
Sure.
So that ability to get everybody onto it, and he described beautifully how the theater commands will take shape. And he made it very clear, today China has got the Western Theater Command. One commander looking after the entire Chinese border, so did he have. There'll be one commander he had in vision who would be looking after just the Western adversary, the Northern adversary, right. And the third, he said, a maritime command. and Andaman Nicobar, which will be looking after the Indian Ocean, which is a very assertive place. I'm giving you very simplistically. And fourth, you have an Air Defense Command, because anything that happens in the air there has to be looked after by somebody.
Sure.
And then he spoke of a logistics command. So now, would we have somebody who has the same vision, who has the same ability to think? That General Siwach will be the best person to answer. He has been going through those years. He has been making policies in the MS branch. But my little understanding of the armies of the world, since I still meet generals very frequently, both from both sides, that is the Western adversary, the Northern adversary, and also the United States and Russia. Many generals are there who are very kinetic in nature.
Points taken.
But to be imaginative and strategic, I'm just saying this, to be imaginative and strategic, where you have a vision of the Pacific Ocean. Now, imagine where you have a vision of Kashgar, where you have a vision that possibly Aksai Chin will be someday ours, is something with General Rawat.
Points taken, General. I'll just come back to you. I'll just come back to you for, to take that particular aspect forward. Since you brought up General Siwach as well, let me get a reaction from him too on this, and let me go across to Dinakar Peri as well, who's, Dinakar Peri, taking the points forward that General Chakraborty was just making at the moment. What does this mean for the vision that we saw over the last year or so of General Rawat? Are we going to see a continuation of the policies that we saw being put forth by him?
Absolutely. Because the first point is, if you look at the charter of the CDS, it's written in the charter that the CDS is mandated to work towards the integration and the creation of the integrated theatre commands. In fact, the charter even more specifically had said that the first CDS is responsible to put these things together. And unfortunately, General Rawat was working towards that. We had a lot of, we crossed a lot of distance in that direction in the last 2 years since he took over. In fact, he would have been finishing 2 years of his tenure end of this month and had another 13 months to go after that. He was due March 23. So there was quite a bit of progress in this direction. And as the charter says, so irrespective of who takes over, the charter is very clear. So they'll have to work towards that. So it's a question of, because the directive is very clear.
Right.
It's a question of how they kind of, the working style may change. Each one has their own working style. So, how to bring about that coordination, bringing different, in this case, the 3 different services at the highest levels together. That might, tactically it might change, but the broader direction this thing will remain the same. There's no second thought about it.
Right.
And also, if you look at the charter of the DMA, because in our system, we empower the institution, not the man. And the man who is heading the institution gets all that authority. So if you look at the charter of the mandate of the DMA, it's very, very thoroughly and minutely written. The specific functions say, for instance, the military diplomacy in the region is charter of the DMA, or promotions at a certain level, awards at a certain level are again with the DMA, or purchases at a certain level.
Well, we seem to have lost the video with.
Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. You're on mute. Still on mute. Yeah.
Now.
Yes. Go ahead.
I guess I can't figure out what this thing is, but yeah.
That's okay. Yeah.
So the thing is, the charter, the mandate of the DMA is been very carefully and very thoroughly written. So whoever, irrespective of who is picked in the next this thing, and again for that, coming to that issue, if you actually look at the current lineup of chiefs, the army chief is the senior most, and in fact he is one generation above the next chief who had just taken over. The Navy and Air Force, the chiefs have just changed. The new chiefs have just taken over in the last few months. In fact, one literally a few weeks back. So General Ravne is distinctly senior most in the lineup, and who has tenure till again April 22, next 4 months. So in all likelihood, given that the Chief of Defense Staff is the senior most military officer of this country, so the the lineup looks clear. So we'll have to see how the decision is made.
Absolutely. Absolutely. General, coming back to you now, there are still several questions that need to be answered as far as this entire issue is concerned. So where do things stand right now from a security as well as safety perspective? Are we going to see a major overhauling of our helicopters or choppers, because these are constantly used by several dignitaries across the country?
Of course, you see, Frank, as far as this helicopter is concerned, no drastic steps will be taken, because this is an incident which has taken place, is a very freak incident, and it is a very good platform. It is time tested, it is used by 60 countries. I don't think much will be done. It is only to find out what can be the cause and reason of this incident and accident, this unfortunate, and they can be as we were discussing, it can be either of them or a combination of all these. More than anything else, Frank, what we are now interested in as to how things will unfold once General Bipin Rawat has not left, as far as his unfinished charter is concerned. First of all, he was selected as the first CDS. The first CDS is very important. He has made SOPs, what are the tasks of CDS, how things will unfold. Now, the task which was he doing it is modernization of defense forces, synergization of Army, Air Force, Navy, and third thing is theaterization. Now, these are the three things which is the unfinished agenda. They have not been over. He would have taken another 1 year for the first thing to roll out. Now, theaterization, the point which comes is it so easy to make theater command within India? It's not that easy. So there were some resistance, there were some teething problem. It is being resolved. I'm sure we are on the correct roadmap. Things will look much more settled in time to come. But theaterization is the main thing which he was insisting, which he was given a task. And I have myself little bit doubt that it is better to go slow and study on theaterization rather than pushing it, because each country which has a theater command is different in different style. We cannot copy China saying that their Western theater command is looking after us. So it will take time. I'm sure whosoever is successor will ensure whatever is the unfinished agenda, he takes on from there. Second thing is the modernization of defense forces. His main role was, he was more for Indigenization. That is Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India concept, which is being directed by a Prime Minister. And he was one of those person who used to say that more than 200 items were put on a negative import list. It means they will not be imported, they will be manufactured in India. And this will be another challenge. Third thing is the integrated battle group. He was sort of very vocal about integrated battle group. It means it's a novel idea which has not been time tested. Again, I want to tell that it is combination of mechanized forces, which consist of infantry, mechanized infantry, armor, artillery, which is smaller in size, have a more flexibility, maneuverability, and can move from one place to another at a very short notice. So this is also a very challenging task. It's not easy. Like General Chakraborty and myself, we know it. It is easy said than done. You are breaking the regiment, you are breaking the infantry battalion, which are homogeneous, and making an integrated battle group. But there is no choice. In future, the war will be fought by fast-moving forces, by the forces which are synergized, by the forces which needs, tear is less and the teeth are more. His main aim was, there is a problem which is coming in Indian Defense Forces. Is the Air Force, Navy, they need more resources because they are capital heavy. The aircraft cost heavily, the ships cost very heavily. And as far as the army is concerned, you are also modernizing that. The question comes that in case we have to look after the Indo-Pacific, you need third aircraft carrier. You need more nuclear power submarine SSN. Do you have that money? At the same time, Air Force needs 42 squadron. You are down with 30 squadron, 12 squadron less. But each squadron costs quite a bit money. Where is the money? And so is the army looking for modernization. So the resources are limited and challenges are heavy. So therefore, the task of CDS become to that extent very, very complex, taking all the three services together, synergizing their energy, and also trying to show that the next war will not be fought alone by Army, Air Force, Navy. It will be together with cyber warfare, with space warfare, and artificial intelligence. So he was the right person for the right job. I am sure the government of the day will select his successor, also the same type, who can then take on whatever is being left. Because in defense forces, once the agenda is set, once the roadmap is set, next chap will take on, and he will make sure whatever was the aim will be fulfilled in time to come. Frank.
Absolutely. Absolutely, General. General, I know it's a busy day, and in case you need to be somewhere else, I'm going to let you go. But if you can stay back, please do stay back, and we'll continue the discussion. General Chakraborty, coming back to you now. Sorry, I cut you short there. Apologies. And, please go ahead and make the point that you are making, General.
Well, I'll only put it, I'll actually take the decision forward from where both Dinakar Peri and General Siwach was speaking. And I would put it very clearly that one, I think, if General Naravne is to become the next, shall we say, as Dinakar Peri has said, because he's the senior most chief, and possibly, see, I mean, I'm only looking at, by the way, the government can do what it deems appropriate, and it may not take a hurried decision also.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, because after all, both of them have brought out very, very relevant points. So whoever takes over the Chief of Defense Staff has to look at very, very complex issues which have already been flagged. All that I would say is that, first is General Rawat himself, one of the discussion I had was indigenization. And I told him very frankly, it's nice to speak about it. But I said, when I meet the private sector, this is to him one-to-one, if I may say, I dare say they have said that they are not finding still they are in a level playing field. I told him this. And his answer was that he agreed with me. And he says that it will exactly what General Siwach says, everything would take time. I even once asked him a question that all these Maulvis have landed up in the masjids from Deoband and other places. That was, of course, 2 years ago. And in Kashmir, why don't you send them back? He says, when they came, nobody said that they should be sent back. He told me the same question. Everything can't be done tomorrow morning. And he followed that. By the way, one felt that he was in a hurry, but he agreed. I think whatever General Siwach has said, theaterization, even he told me, it cannot be done tomorrow. You have to take the services together. Even the United States has taken a very long time despite the act which they have, the Goldwater Samuel Nichols Act, and which was more of a politically driven this thing. In our case, it's great that we are trying to, adjust between the services. I will quote only Captain Basil Littlehart, who said that as far as the services are concerned, it is very difficult to get a new idea in, and more difficult is to get an old idea out. Now, I think this saying is true, and that's what General Siwach says, that it can't happen tomorrow morning, theaterization, even if you want it. Because Indian circumstances are a little different. And General Rawat himself, I told him, from 17 army commanders, you want to now get down to 5. What happens to those other 12? Where do they go? Either you say, okay, they superannuate. So now the issues are very big for the person who comes in. Because General Rawat was doing all this on a day-to-day basis. Whether it was the IBG.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry once again, General. Sorry
can
once
I take
again.
leave, sir?
Yes.
To finish my...
Yeah, please. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Getting late for the print deadline.
Thank you for joining us
on
the program and sharing your views as well. Thank you. Yes, General.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
General Chakraborty, go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
So
double interruption today. I'm sorry. The floor is yours, please.
Not at all. Therefore, whoever comes in has to get his orientation right. And the orientation takes, as far as I would put it, at that level, minimum 6 months to get the orientation right, to get the feel of what these three services are, the Army, Navy, and the Air Force, And also, as you have correctly brought out, General Siwach is a part of the DMA, that is, he is a secretary, the Ministry of Defense in it. To understand how to tackle these issues, I think would be major issues for the new CDS and the government of India, if I may put it.
Absolutely.
This is what I would suggest, and the rest, this is all that I wish to say. General Siwach, and you have covered all the points otherwise.
Final concluding remarks from both my panelists now on what next and what's the best way forward, because this is something that is unprecedented and something that we've never seen before. So these are difficult times and challenging times as well. So what next and the best way forward, starting first with you, General Siwach?
See, as far as Frank way forward is concerned, whatever is the roadmap which has been already made, we should cover that. And we should not try to hasten up the thing. Government should take its own time to now appoint a new CDS. I'm sure that will take some time, and then a successor will take on from wherever has been left by General Rawat. My point is a roadmap has been made. Milestone has been already selected on that. We should move, because individuals do not make a difference. It is the organization and institution which are more important. Now, the point which comes is that theaterization has to happen, but it should take its own time. Modernization is the key word. Indian Defense Forces need to modernize. Third thing is Indigenization is the key word. You have to understand a country like India cannot be spending almost 1 to 2.3 of your budget only for taking the defense equipment. You cannot procure 75% of your defense procurement from abroad. So you have to build up an industry where at least 30 to 40% you can build in India and also can export and earn the foreign exchange. So this is the requirement of the day. Synergization of all the three forces is another very important thing. I suppose as far as the nation is concerned, we are in safe hand. As far as the defense forces are concerned, at least now we start talking of synergization. 5-10 years back, we were in a watertight compartment. We are, that wall has been broken. Now we are coming very close. When there is a jointness, there is a synergization. I think with this aim, we will go ahead and you'll find a theater command will become a reality in time to come. And modernization will be the key word, wherein it will play a major role in making India as a major regional power in West Asia. Frank.
Absolutely. And General Chakraborty, please close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
I would like to firstly, I think General Siwach has made absolutely relevant issues. And I would just take off from there and say very clearly that firstly, the government must not be in a hurry. Let's look at precedents. General Bipin Joshi died in harness. I think it took quite some time to just decide who would be the Chief of Army Staff before General Shankar Roy Choudhury took over. I still remember those days because one was in uniform and one was, I think I was located in Delhi, in and around Delhi, I remember. And therefore, firstly, the government must take time because government has a very important role in doing what General Siwach has said to ensure that whatever was happening is continuing. And luckily, the NSA, I will just say, and the Defense Secretary, Mr. Ajay Kumar, are in picture of what is happening. So therefore, we have to take some time because what General Siwach said is very important to take all the three services together. So who should be the CDS? Decide on it and do not what you call reinvent the wheel. That is all I would say. And next, I think what is possibly most important for all of us is that you must understand that the turf battle is still there. The Army, Navy, Air Force still look at themselves. I have just attended a National Defense College get-together where I met many chiefs. See, it's one thing to meet retired chiefs, one thing to meet retired generals, and the other is to have frank discussions with serving people. And I can assure you that this turf battle takes a lot of time to go. It takes a lot of time, despite the fact that General Siwach and I both are from the National Defense Academy, where we were all brought up together. But in between, a lot of regimentation has taken place and where the orientation has changed. To get the orientation back to its place is going to take time. And as correctly brought out by General Siwach, it is not individuals, but the entire force looking at it. So therefore, it has to be, I'll say this force includes journalists, it includes bureaucrats. I know that they are involved in it because they have to also support these issues.
True.
In the United States, you have embedded journalists. Here, we don't have embedded journalists.
Right.
Okay, the army has its own journalists, and they have to take this agenda through. And then only will we possibly be reaching what is known as synergy between the armed forces. And also, another thing which General Rawat wanted was civil-military fusion.
Sure.
Xi Jinping, because I remember in the last lecture, he spoke about 10 minutes about civil-military fusion, which China is doing its best to achieve. In the US, it's already there. Now, unless that takes place, the synergy will not be complete. It's a nation which is going to fight. He brought out very clearly the first will be a cyber attack where all army officers will stop getting their pay. The second will be possibly an attack on our satellite system where you stop seeing all these televisions and Zooms and other things. So therefore, the civil-military fusion is equally important. I have finished that.
Absolutely. All right. Gentlemen, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining me on the program and sharing your views and perspectives on this very, very important subject on a very tragic day. Let's not forget that this is truly one of the most tragic days that we witnessed, at least in the recent past. 13 people losing their life today and several men who served the country at the highest level. And it's truly unfortunate to see something like this. Om Shanti, the soul of General Bipin Rawat, and may his soul rest in peace. We wish him better travels into the future. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on the program and being here with me. Pleasure, as always. And now, let me also talk about the key takeaways as far as this particular discussion is concerned. Well, it's as simple as how there is a system that has been put in place, and that system needs to follow. We don't need to reinvent the wheel as far as the CDS is concerned. The government should not be in a hurry to look for a replacement as far as General Bipin Rawat is concerned. Let it take its own course and let the path on which General Bipin Rawat has started on continue into the future. We need to look at modernization as far as the armed forces are concerned. We need to look at several other aspects because the challenges are aplenty, be it China, be it the Indo-Pacific, or be it Pakistan. These are real challenges and they need to be met with real force. As far as China is concerned, not only is it a problem on our borders, but it also is a problem in the Indian Ocean. And here is where we need to focus our energies on going forward. Yes, a tragic day indeed, a great loss to the nation, and truly our hearts are sunken at the moment, and really it's difficult to bring out words after what we've just witnessed. Those pictures that we saw on national television of the burning chopper were horrific. Unfortunate to see so many people lose their lives as a result of this accident. An inquiry has been ordered. It will be looked into as to what was the cause behind this particular incident. Like the general has just explained, it could be human error, it could be mechanical or technical failure, or it could be bad weather which caused this. It could be either two or all of these that caused this problem as well. Gone too soon, but we can pray for his soul at the moment and say Om Shanti. There's nothing more that is left at this point in time. A couple of announcements before I go as well. If you've not liked the video and subscribed to Bharata Plus, please do so right now, and do share the word about Bharata First as well so that more people get to know about us. You can subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive information. And I must tell you about the Bharata First Knowledge Center, our big success story. It is your one-stop destination for all your competitive exams needs. We now have 26 amazing courses, all available at a throwaway price as part of our early bird offer. We are also offering an additional discount of 10% for the first 100 to register. There are only a few more seats remaining because most of them are filled up, and we're going to keep this open for a few more days. So don't wait any further. Register now. Make use of this great opportunity. Go to kc.bharatafirst.com for more details. Hundreds are already reaping the benefits of the Knowledge Center. Don't be left behind and don't regret later. All this information, well, one more bit of information that I'd like to give you. I'm planning to start the third edition of Bharata First flagship internship program. We had one in April, we had one a few months later, and now in January, going into the new year, the new calendar year, I'd like to start the third batch as well. So if any one of you are interested in this internship and want to be a part of this great experience and want to dedicate 3 months of your life here where you will learn, work with me, and also get to understand things in a better manner, you can send in your resumes at feedback.bharatafirst@gmail.com, and I will ensure that I look at those resumes personally and get back to you as early as possible. All this information, along with some must-see recommendations, are in the description of the video. Please go through it, and I will see you next time. Thank you all for being here. Shubhratri.